Okay, excellent. We're back. Hello. Sorry, I should be looking into the camera, shouldn't I, when I say that? Anyway, we're back. It's Book from Scratch live, where the whole process of writing a book is just given to you live. You can go to and find lots and really good how to write a book YouTube channels and videos, and they're brilliant, and they will give you great hints and tips and advice. But this is different. This is from scratch, although I guess we're quite a little bit into the planning stages, so it's no longer from scratch, but I'm keeping the title. And here you're going to watch me live, step by step, writing, planning, then writing this brand new book I'm intending to write, presumably over the course of quite a while. But at the moment I've been planning my way through six of these like short stories within a big anthology book, a big anthology fantasy book, each one covering a different genre. You can kind of see that here, my terrible handwriting for like normal sort of oh dear, and now my Apple Pencil decided to not work. So is my hand working? Yes, my hand is working. So you got your fantasy, your horror, your western, your sci-fi, your mystery, your political thriller. And today, although it's not really a genre of writing, I don't think so. We're going to do a pirate adventures down. So I'm switching this off just to get my. I will write easier with my pencil. Okay, so pirate stories. What I'm not going to do, I'm going to skip talking too much about the theme. Go back and watch some of the earlier videos, and let's just get straight into this. You know the deal by now. This is the 14th episode. If you're coming in right now, well, welcome. Hello. It's great to see you. Thank you. And go back and watch some of the early episodes to understand fully what I'm talking about in this, because I can't rehash everything. So we're just going to get into it with a pirate adventure. Now, this is a fantasy anthology. I've just said that. Different genres, bit to bit. And there is an overreaching theme that I've got to write into this pirate adventure one way or another. If you're just coming in new, the main characters who are part of an adventuring party have split up, with Fortis and Huxton, our main characters, going one way, the rest of the adventuring party going the other way. Fortis and Huxton want to do things differently to normal fantasy adventuring. Rather than trying to aim for the big bad and sorting them out, they've realised it might be more beneficial to sort of solve some problems in society that prevent the big bad from taking advantage of like the faults and flaws of a society, getting themselves more power, making it more likely they're going to win. So in a way, at the end of this book, the big bad, who's just codenamed Bob for now, will try to take over the kingdom, but he'll find that he doesn't have like the kingdom's completely secure and safe. He's lost some of his big army, and the magical powers he was going after are kind of like have been stripped from him, not because of what our main like heroes have been doing. That's like one half of the adventuring party. It's all that Fortis and Huxton have kind of stripped them away by going around doing adventures that solve problems, as opposed to just go straight for like the Sauron character, the Night King character, whatever. I can plug this in now. So, where does that lead us? Pirate adventures. Now, like I said, I don't think pirate adventure is really a genre. Not like it's just an adventure story, really, but it does have a unique flavour, and there's certainly books which take some sort of pirate theme, and like you can do your sci-fi, you can do your historical fiction, you can do your fantasy. So it's what I've chosen to do anyway. I suppose I could sort of twist it a little bit historical, but we're on this fantasy universe is on the back of a snail, so I don't think I can really do that. What colour should I do today? I'll do blue today. So, what makes a pirate adventure a good pirate adventure? Well, there is the historical setting. Like if you've ever saw Disney's Treasure Planet, there is still, even though it's set out in space with all the pirates pretty much being either cyborgs or aliens, Um, it still feels like, you know, 17th century pirating, 17th century to 18th century to 19th century pirating. It's still got a historical feel to it, and it's even shoehorning in some aspects of the period, like well, it's based on Treasure Island, but it's also shoeing in something that looks like horseshoeing. Horseshoeing? No, that's wrong. Um, but you know what I mean. It's shoving in there the um, like a kind of Royal Navy equivalent, um, and also trying to keep to some realistic aspects of pirating as a whole. Just going to respond to a comment from someone. Thank you very much for commenting. I've got to keep this one to under an hour if I can, because the better you know, it's better that the live stream is only an hour. Anyway, where was I? Pirates. Thank you though for commenting. So keep some history. I think it's important for a pirate adventure to, wherever it's being set, sci-fi, fantasy, there should be some historical element in there. Like the One Piece manga series, which is all about pirates. It's insane. Like the ships don't look like ships that of any era of pirating. Not really. The characters have a wide range of different looks and cultural like aspects to them. Like different islands are just different places in time and history. There's obviously the sci-fi element on Egghead Island. It's just all different sort of pirate eras slammed into what traditionally passes for, you know, an anime. But it keeps some historical flavour. Like most of the pirates are named after real world pirates. Jolly Rogers isn't included, and they're a real thing that pirates did do. There's the freedom aspect of being a pirate. Like a pirate's life for me isn't too off the mark, and it also seems, I think, to show that not always is the captain that like the sole ruler. No, the sole person in charge. The Straw Hat Pirates in One Piece seem to have a more level playing field for what happens with their crew. It's mad, it's adventurous, it gets a bit crazy. I love it, but that's what a real pirate ship is actually about. Like it's a community of individuals. It's not just the captain and their big personality. Others matter as well. So in this pirate adventure, I have to bring in some key historical elements as well. And one other thing a pirate adventure needs is definitely treasure. Pirates obviously didn't bury treasure. They didn't leave maps to locations. They wanted to spend this treasure. They wanted money. They didn't want to bury it somewhere. And there were certainly safe places they could keep it within society that they sort of blended with here and there. There are some records of apparently pirates leaving treasure around, but you know that could be just them having like gaslighting everyone. But it's fair to say that real life pirates, even ones operating today, is all about getting money. Treasure, money, same thing. So I need to have treasure be some focus within this story that I'm writing within the wider anthology. Thirdly, adventure. Can't have a pirate adventure. There you go. You can't have a pirate story without them actually going on an adventure. It's about sailing the high seas, it's about discovery, it's about meeting different cultures which will try to take you out. It's about fleeing sometimes from the bigger like naval authority, something like that. It needs sword fights, it needs ship battles, vibrant locations and discoveries. I also think that a pirate adventure needs extreme characters. I think pirates are outlaws, they live outside society, they form their own communities away from governments, and I think that kind of requires like characters who are really out there. They're very different to the society we know. They live dangerous lives on the high seas, they're laws unto themselves, like the whole pirate crew, and they've seen some things. And they're able to think and act outside the constraints of the lives we have. All sort of famous historical pirates do stand out in one way or another. Don't just think Blackbeard, think Jean de Clisson, Think Madam Ching, think Hawkins and Raleigh. These are all pirates to privateer kind of different, you know, different versions of the same thing. So it's a privateer. Privateer is just someone who a government has contracted to go be a pirate. I think the fifth thing that a pirate adventure needs to touch upon is freedom. The sailing the seas can be seen as liberating. As soon as you're outside the shore, your world is your ship. Rules have to be made. The societies form on each ship. You get your mythologies, you get your quirks, you get your sort of what was the word I just had in mind? Like they start thinking of their own. I'll have to come back to that. It's gone. Words completely left my head. That's not great for a writer. Hopefully it'll come back when I need it. But either way, sailing the seas is about freedom. You get away from your nation, your government, your way of life, and get out there into the world. And for most of pirates' existence, the world was completely unknown to some extent. So wherever you go, you might be discovering new, and you might be the first. And the map is not all that good for telling you what's there. So there's 5 things that I think a pirate adventure definitely needs. Some sort of nod to the historical period. It's kind of like the Western in some sense. You can move a Western to like space, like Cowboy Bebop, for example. But there's some historical aspect of the Wild West right there. So it makes sense to bring it. And that kind of applies to the pirate adventure. Treasure, adventure, extreme characters, freedom. So let's try and start planning this out. And this is actually going to be the most difficult, I think, to plan out, because how can pirating, like, how does it benefit Bob, the main guy? And how do Fortis and Huxton actually change and almost eliminate the need for pirating? So, and there's a couple of restrictions on what I have to write. For one thing, this is on the, what's it called? Snakar. This fantasy world, rather than being a traditional sort of like take on, say, like, do you know how like Middle Earth in Lord of the Rings is it's supposed to be like European history. That's what Tolkien wanted. He wanted to create a mythology that we just didn't have in sort of Britain and say Northern Europe. So it's very down to earth, the map. While yes, there's magical creatures and whatnot, that's mythology for you. It's an ordinary map, but of course I wanted to put this world on the back of this giant snail that's just sliming its way across the cosmos, but you can see that the world is on top. So obviously our pirate adventure is going to take place here, which is the sea. Right here, you can probably see me drawing that. That's the sea. There's obviously other lakes and things and rivers and whatnot, but this is going to be the main sort of ocean. Clinging arrangements are made, to quote Terry Pratchett, that the sea stays where it is. So it'll be mostly islands. I can't really think about putting much of a continent there, but that's one of my restrictions. I'm on the back of a giant snail. The sea will mostly be the sea, like it will look like our perception of an ocean. I mean, the snail shell it's curved. It's not a ball. It's not like a globe. It's definitely not flat, and so that produces the same kind of horizon as well. So there's 2 suns though, because the snail's eyes are the suns. We're going to see this from the main characters, Fortis and Huxton, plus 2 other characters' perspective, probably with a sort of side adventure happening at the same time, where you've got the other half of the adventuring party trying to go after the big pirate guy and defeating him. But that's kind of, they're doing that. What's going to be funny at the end of that, when they leave, we'll focus on like the big pirates and see how they just choose a new leader And so it seems, but then that leader will try and go back to where Fortis and Huxton are doing their story and realize that they no longer matter. So the other half of the adventuring party are trying to they think that defeating the head pirate is all they need to do, but they go away from that, not realizing they haven't solved anything. Meanwhile, Fortis and Huxton are solving the real problem over here, and that's the goal. It's also picking up from the previous book, but the political adventure isn't gonna. Oh, it will affect them. Oh, good. That means I now know how to start this story. So, pirate. Come on. Pirate adventure. So, the beginning is Fortis and Huxton told to say deal with pirates because possible allies to Bob. Yeah, Bob's not a great name for the Sauron kind of character in this book, but I can't really think of anything at the moment, so Bob's fine. And as good a name as Bob is, in case there's any Bob watchers out there, it's, I'm pretty sure you guys, it's a nice name. When I hear someone called Bob, I think they're great. I don't think that they're leading an army of terrifying creatures to take over a kingdom. So by calling it Bob, I will be forced to change it later. I definitely won't forget. So I'm going to start this pirate adventure with Fortis and Hux being told to deal with pirates because they are possibly going to be allies of Bob. At the same time, the rest of adventurers told to take out the pirate admiral. So our pirate admiral, think Blackbeard kind of character. Okay, so in a way, both sets of adventurers, both having representing two different ways of doing a fantasy adventure. Because in a sense, the rest of the adventuring party, they're going the normal route, which is take out the big bad guy. But Fortis and Huxton are doing something differently. So these guys, they're going to do a typical adventure from beginning, middle, and end. So just basically fighting their way to the pirate admiral, who controls most of the pirating operations within the ocean. So let's go lighter blue. But now we have the separate one. So as I've often talked about, what has to happen in the story, you do your beginning, you rise all the way to the middle, there's a twist, everything sort of collapses for a bit, and then you rise back again to a solid ending. And you can do this multiple times throughout a story to create twists and turns and plot points. So let's go erase some of these details. There's my middle and there's my end. So we know what they're doing, but what are Fortis and Huxton doing in order to change the nature of being a pirate? Well, I guess I need a grand adventure for them on the high seas. So maybe. Also, I think pirate adventures could be quite fun, so maybe it should be about infiltrating the pirate group, which actually sort of leads them to getting a ship and essentially signing up at a pirate hideout. I'll put Pirate Cove or something for now. I will change this later. I think a little tip for you if you're writing a book. You probably will feel pressured. I've got to come up with a name now. I've got to do the research. I've got to let's make this as clean as possible from the get go before I even start writing. I don't think you need to do that. If it helps you, fine, but you don't need to do it. The writing, no one really sees what you've written until you're ready to start sending it to publishers. When you've got a book in front of you that you've put away for a bit, come back a month later, started reading it yourself as if you're seeing it with fresh eyes, as if you're the first reader to ever pick this book up, and then you'll realise, oh, I've got to change that. You go back to it. Like, it doesn't matter if you're planning notes. What I've got here is bad. It's your notes. It's what you're working from, and it can change. That's the beauty of a book. You've got all this. It's not like another way to tell a story is a film, and films do try to change things as they go when they realize that this is a better way to tell the story. But for the most part, they need that script ready to go so they know what to build off. But writing a book's different. You can change it, or you can manipulate it. You can plug this in, plug that there, reorder that before anyone ever sees it. So you don't have to feel that you're making some mistakes. You don't have to feel that you're being silly or you're leaving stuff out. I'm being kind of lazy here, not thinking of a proper name for Pirate Cove, but I definitely will. I've got time, and that's the beauty of being an author. And having that time means you don't get stressed too much about it. I'm not going to get stressed about it. I know what I'm talking about. Actually, I probably should be stressed because you're all seeing this and you're going to see my mistakes, but that will probably help you feel better about any mistakes you make along the way. So I think they should infiltrate a pirate group, which then... Hang on a minute, but why? Let's make this all about treasure. Should it be... Also, something I realised that needs to happen here is that Bob is now known. In other words, they're starting to talk about him. They know he's rising, he's going to get more powerful, which means I can put him more in the book. Well, not him, but either his lackeys as well. So, why do this? To find a treasure. That has power Bob needs. So yeah, like say a treasure hoard, with something great inside, with one item in particular. Now, if I want if I want that to be important, I need to mention this earlier. Like build it up a little bit. Something that was lost. A comment just came through. Let's take a look at that from RO70V470R. At the end of the video, would you be willing to share how many acts and plot points you usually use in the anthology stories? This is actually my first time writing an anthology story. I've kind of done this anthology story on purpose so I can cover as many genres as I want, some fresh and new to me. But I want to try and cover as much as possible. I want to learn stuff as I go, communicate it to everyone watching. I think you are making a good point, though, that I have to actually make a note of is standard size for all books. Maybe the final one can be a bit longer in the yes, thank you for putting that in the comments. I can now spell it properly. anthology. And little note for me later is that yes, I think standardizing the size of the books in the anthology is a good idea, with a longer one at the end to bring us to a nice final plot point. It's a bit really hard to say different plot points, like going back to the mystery one, the mystery book. Different twists and turns are actually will result in multiple different plot points, whereas a straight ordinary fantasy adventure is basically go from the beginning, rise to the middle, they fail, they fall, and then they have to try and find a new way to complete their goal. That's a very basic plot point, so I can't really state how many acts and plot points. Thank you for that comment though. I'm gonna jump back into this pirate thing. So I just said that their goal is to find a treasure, and there's a single piece of that treasure which is more powerful than anything. I'll mention it earlier, big it up, making sure everyone knows about it and people are talking about it. It's like legendary. Good, make it legendary. So that means they have to... So a lackey of a Bob wants to find it, which therefore leads to who knows. So if I think about it like this, like a pirate adventure is like find the treasure, set sail, meet the crew, adventure 1, like mermaids attack the ship or whatever, adventure 2, Kraken, adventure 3, ghost pirates, I guess. I don't need to write that. Ghost pirates or whatever. Then find treasure, then fire over it. Along with some twists and turns along the way about who actually killed whose father or mother back in the day. Oh, the captain is actually the mother of the protagonist. Stuff like that. But that's your basic adventure. So I'm actually going to stick to this kind of thing. But what's going to happen is this. So the lackey Bob wants to find it. He has the clue. We'll go with they. I have no idea. Really no idea who it's going to be. They have the clue. And what we'll have are two simultaneous things happening. So there's the main the adventure done by the other half of the adventure group, and this is at the level of like captains. Meanwhile, Fortis and Huxton, so theirs at the crew level. So maybe these two will cross paths, but they'll kind of ignore each other. Like they're kind of there for the same thing. So every step of these two adventures are happening in a sort of... So there's actually two sort of things happening at the same time. The blue is Fortis and Huxton's perspective, which is happening on the crew level, and the other half of the adventuring party is experiencing things at the upper level. So they're imagine if you watched Pirates of the Caribbean, and the red line is following the Captain Jacks and the Barbosas, but then the blue level or the lower level pirates on Captain Jack's ship, and their experiences fighting the various battles and experiencing things. And Fortis and Huxton are seeing it from that level, and sometimes witnessing the big fight. And there's no reason why, like, if you're like cabin boy on a pirate ship, you're still experiencing sword fights. You're still going to experience the monsters that attack the ship. You're still going to experience finding the treasure in the big battle. It's just you kind of think that you don't matter, and no one's really paying attention to you, but you're still sword fighting. You're still stabbing a mermaid that's trying to kill you or something, or a kraken tentacles going after the captain, but it's also going after you. And the captain, for some reason, gets a lot of time where he throws a barrel of rum at the tentacle, shoots it, it explodes, but the cabin boy can do the exact same thing. So we're going to get the same kind of adventure. It's still going to be just as fun watching it from Fortis and Huxton's perspective, but they're doing it. But this is how they change things. So this will be the story in a way. So Fortis, oh dear, not read. So what Fortis and Huxton are going to do? They're going to see the adventure from the crewman level. Same action for them. Sword fights, monsters, etc. But then along the way, I mean, Fortis and Huxton are still trying to get to the treasure, because in their mind, it's not actually about... No, that's the wrong way to think about it. I'm going to ignore that tangent completely, because I am. Instead, so Fortis and Huxton will question typical pirate structures. Not the fun ones. Think of it like this. In a pirate adventure, it's always about the captain, maybe their first mate, a bunch of other nameless pirates beneath them, having the wild adventures, facing off against the Royal Navy sort of admiral captain type, who's perhaps a bit pompous and full of himself, and like too regimented like the Navy. And it's always about the captain telling the pirates beneath them what to do, and it's a very tyrannical sort of setup. But that's not actually true history. In truth, a pirate ship was much more democratic, and the captain is like, he's the person who says fire. He's the person who says charge. He's not making grand decisions. But that's what we get in pirate adventures. Captain Barbossa in Pirates of the Caribbean, the very first one, is what he's telling everyone. He's doing all the planning. You've got some colourful characters beneath him, but he's the head of it all. But in reality, they're not. It's a big... Like, all pirates are kind of the same. They all want to be free from the restraints of society. They all need money. They don't want to go out farming or whatever. So that's why they plunder and steal to support themselves. But it's they all know how to sail. They all look to their captain, but when there's more democracy and a sort of communal society happening on board that ship. So what we're to break away from the traditional sort of tyrannical captain, like making everything happen, what Fortis and Huxton are going to do are going to they influence the crews or crew to think as a community. To think as a community, to share treasure. Like, it shouldn't all go to the captain, should it? To share treasure, to start thinking that, yeah, I'm not the captain, but if I just left, then who's going to fire those guns, and who's going to be there to fight a different pirate crew or the sort of naval equivalent? So, what Fortis and Huxton do in the background as crew members is like make the pirate crew members realize that pirating should be a bit different, and it shouldn't be tyrannical top down. It should be much more egalitarian. You're probably thinking, is that really a fun pirate adventure? And I'll say to you, yeah, not quite. Like, Pirates of the Caribbean, great film, love it. No problem with the big, interesting characters. But I want to try and be original. I try and stay to this theme of in the story, which is you change the little things so the big bad guy has less power at the end of it, which is trying to mimic how in our societies today, if we just all operated a little bit better, more moral, and we thought more about helping each other, we wouldn't have the issue we have now of dictators and terrible governments, because the problems of society would actually be solved. So you wouldn't have people to like get everyone geared to like blaming someone for it. Instead, like, if you actually solve some problems, our societies would get a whole lot better. But it's not like speaking for my own country, it's not like the Labour government are actually going to do anything of any significance while they're there. But either way, that's the theme of the overall fantasy story I'm writing. It's all about, rather than making it all about taking out the big bad guy, it's all about solving these little problems that weaken them and making it easier to kill them in the end. So they have to influence the crew to think as a community to share treasure, which then leads, so the other half, which is what I'm writing in red, defeat the pirate admiral when treasure is found. That they find the treasure, and that's when some backstabbing happens, and that's when they have to fight the main villain. Oh, treasure is found. Like, the special item leads to conflict, like greed. Maybe the pirate admiral realizes they should be the one to give it to Bob, or the lackey turns on everyone to try and get there and take it away. So they defeat the pirate admiral. They then leave, with the special item, assuming everything is fine, because they're continuing the normal course of storytelling. Well, not normal, but a much more prominent form of storytelling, where it's you defeat the bad guy, everything's solved. Assuming everything is fine. Is fine. Because big bad guy is taken care of. And that's when we go back to Fortis and Huxton. New pirate admiral rises and fights Fortis and Huxton and crew, because he wants to be a tyrant. He wants to continue the tradition of being a tyrant. Wants to continue tradition of like top down pirating. Okay, so this has to then lead to like, in a way, what Fortis and Huxton does has to resolve things. So, but it also has to prove that the other group's method was sort of flawed. So what could happen here? Let's try a purple to combine these two colours. Figures. Don't have a purple ready to go. That'll do. So, yeah, and also how does this resolve the things with Bob? So, what I've got to start doing is answering some of these questions I'm posing myself, and then my plot points will start to form. That's my method. So the new pirate admiral sort of takes over. He goes back to the crew, maybe with some treasure, and says, right, I'm in charge now. I'm keeping this booty. And the crew, having been changed by Fortis and Huxton's sort of way of thinking, realise, no, that's not going to work. And, okay, so Fortis and Huxton fight the new admiral. And this also means that the reader, gets the same kind of conflict they expect in this story, which is big sword fight, swashbuckling sword fight at the end. And why not? So he's going to fight the new admiral, defeat them. They defeat them. So now the crew realise they are rich. No need to be pirates. Anymore. They've achieved their goal. And so they quit. You get like one of the other crew members who we've come to love, like, go, I'm going to go back and I'm going to start that pie shop I always wanted. I'm going to go be a blacksmith. I'm going to go make up with my dad. Stuff like that. Which is funny. Either way, and they quit. And essentially, therefore, like, pirates stop being a problem. Or low-level problem. And let's say Bob's lackey realise Bob can't use them. And they lost the one item. Oh, no, that's not going to work. You see, one of the reasons why this isn't going to work is that in this scenario, what's happened is the other half of the adventuring party, who are doing the traditional route of trying to take out the big bad, they're walking away with the gem that Bob needs to increase his power. So their way has succeeded. So what actually needs to happen is they lose it somehow. Ah, okay. I realise now. Okay. Most of that was good. I'm just going to go rehash this a little bit. Right. Think about it like this way. The Pirate Admiral, or PA, is defeated. Someone new takes over. Someone new takes over, defeats. Oops. Defeats them because they're weak. So the other half of the adventure is not Fortis and Huxton. They fight the main admiral because they're doing that higher level thing, and they defeat him. But then the new one is just the new one takes over, and they have to fight him because that's what happens. You can get rid of these tyrants and these dictators all you want, but there's always another one waiting in the wings because there's always something there to support them. So and then defeats them. They lose Jewel. Sorry, for some reason I had that it was a jewel that they're mainly after. I want it to be something else. They lose the item Bob wanted. So then Bob's lackey and new pirate admiral return to crew, because you can kind of when you have some of these pirate adventures, you've got all the big names fighting over here, and in the background is where all the littler pirates, the pirates that don't matter, are all fighting. And so they finish that battle. They defeat the main. Pirate admiral. New one takes over. They lose. Jewel, lackey for Bob, travelling back to the crew who have fought their battle, but there's Fortis and Huxton amongst them, and it returned to the crew. Fortis and Huxton have changed the crew. They defeat new pirate admiral. Crew are rich. Give up being pirates. And Fortis and Huxton have the item. Their way worked better. That's how their way worked better. What's also good about this is that this means Fortis and Huxton are still getting stronger. They're still fighting top tier villains, and therefore honing their powers, are still getting stronger. This just helps a bigger, better clash. Because if you go back to one of the videos and you understand the theme, clash with adventurers. So in the theme, sorry to rehash the theme again, but for any new people, or some of the older people who, I don't mean I'm getting off track. Look, the theme is you start solving some of the problems that, like in Lord of the Rings, if you just looked after the orcs and I'm going to say civilized them, that's probably the wrong term, but like, I mean, just for crying out loud, give the orcs better stuff, and then they won't be so keen to go to war for Sauron because they've made friends with Gondor. And like, that's how you solve the problem of Sauron. Not just trying to, you obviously have to destroy the Ring of Power, but it doesn't matter if he gets it back and Sauron walks out of Mount Doom holding a dead Frodo, throws it to side, and he has his ring, and goes, yeah, I'm back everyone, and he's proper form, and then suddenly he looks out, and then orcs, Gondor, Rohan, hobbits, dwarves, elves, and they all rush him and tear him apart again, and then he's done. Like, that's the point, that's the theme. If you solve some of these problems, the big bad guy has nothing to support him. He may be powerful in their own way, but they can't survive tens of thousands of orcs, humans, elves, dwarves, hobbits, eagles tearing into him. So, but at the end of this book, when Bob is defeated, spoiler alert, one half of the adventure band that Fortis and Huxton were a part of is like going to be really angry that their glory and the honor of taking him out is kind of lost. This is what they built to. This is what they thought they were going to be, like some prophesized heroes who saved the day, but it turned out they weren't. And they blame Fortis and Huxton, and there's going to be a final big battle between Fortis and Huxton and them. And I did realise that the adventure team, if they're going out and defeating these higher caliber villains, while Fortis and Huxton can like focus a bit lower down to solve problems, this puts a very big gap between them skill-wise and power-wise. But this sort of thing enables me to keep Fortis and Huxton getting more and more powerful as well. Okay, I like this. I like this whole thing. Oh, hang on a minute. Ship. Oh, I'm gonna have some fun now. I've got a little bit of time left. It's time to let's design a ship. kind of ship should it be, though? Oh, come on. Where's a brown forward? There we go. Big old jump. It's got to be big. I'm just going to refer to a comment that's happened. Okay, there's some questions on the live stream. I'm going to come back to those at the end because I think that's a good idea. I'm going to have some fun designing a ship. How about, like, why not a big old sort of catamaran? Trimaran? Catamaran? Like, it should be like the galleon. I mean, we're in a fantasy universe. Galleon. Yes, that's galleon. So galleon-sized ships here with their masts. But then we've got the big old vessel here, which is also just a kind of a big galleon with a lovely sort of windowed area at the back. What would the figurehead be? Squid? No. Big old sea monster. Big old sea monster. Shark? That's too much One Piece. Okay, so figurehead in question, but big sails. I'm gonna go. So this is, as you can tell, I'm not an artist, but I'm gonna go for a big old catamaran boat that will be the whole vessel, which gives a lot of space and for different things to happen on board, different areas that Fortress and Huskerland can visit. So big. I'll come back to that when I get to this adventure and start writing it. Okay, I'm running out of time. I'm going to think about this ship a bit later, but I'm going to go to these questions that were here. Right, so, and this, like I said, this anthology this is my first. I do like the idea of an anthology because the reason why I'm doing it for my my first big epic fantasy adventure is that I think it helps the reader to sort of grasp a much more. I think it helps with the epicness I'm trying to do. I could just write one story where different chapters just blend into being a pirate adventure or whatnot. But I think the epicness of this is that you have these different stories which readers will like more than others. I accept that. They're gonna love the like the mystery one over the sci-fi one. They might like the western over the horror, and so on and so forth. I want them all to be really good horror westerns and whatnot, but some people will like them more. So I've done the anthology because it just adds to the epicness, because you're focused on these clearly separate stories that are with the general arc of the whole book. You feel as if these different adventures, it's like reading the entire series of the Alex Rider series. It's like reading the entire Skullduggery Pleasant series or the Scythe series in one book. So it's all contained, but there's separate stories, and because there's clearly a time gap between each one, you can imagine what else happens in that time. It is daunting. That's outlining them ahead of the time. So I'm referring to go to the chat, look at the questions there by RO70V470R, and that's what I'm referring to right now. And if you're watching this later after the live stream has ended, feel free to put your questions in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. It is a bit more daunting, but that's the challenge of this. This isn't just I want to be challenged, because the more I'm challenged, I'll have to learn some new things and I can impart them to people watching who want to write their own books. That's what I want to help you with. And as I said before, probably in the very first video, the reason why I want to help you write your books, because it increases the chances I'll have more books for me to read. But it's not daunting to do this planning. This is kind of the planning that I do. Sometimes all the planning is up here and never on these notes here. What did I just do? The planning part can be a lot of fun. Sometimes you might start writing. You think you're writing a book, but in fact you're just planning it and enjoying all the background lore you're creating, and you never really get around to writing it in the first place. But I'm obviously dedicated to writing this. See, the second question is it more liberating being able to hop from one story to another instead of being bogged down by one? If when you decide to become a writer, you'll realize that, oh, this is such a great idea. This is such a great idea. Wait, I just had another great idea. I better start writing that one, and I'll go back, and I'll go back, and I'll go back. Oh, I just had another idea. You will never stop having ideas. You will get to a point. I'm sorry, I'm tired of looking at this terrible ship that I drew. So let's just go back to this for now, which looks slightly better. Look, I think that this book is going to feel good to write because I can jump around. When I write it live for you, I'm not going to go chapter by chapter by chapter by chapter from the beginning to the end. I'm going to leap around. That might be a bit confusing. I'll try and stay on the sequential chapters as much as possible. But one of my tips for helping breaking writer's block is that if you're really stuck on a chapter, go write something else from the book that you know you're going to love. Because as soon as you've written that will send you back there to finish it. Because you'll have to. Like, the best bit, the bit you're really keen to write there's no foundation to it without everything that comes before. So when you're stuck on a bit, write another part of the story you know you're going to love. It's okay to leave those kind of gaps. Because like I said at the beginning of this video, you as a writer get to change the whole before anyone ever sees it and improve it that way. So it's very liberating to have this kind of book in mind because where is it? I get to try my hand at a western, try my hand at a horror, which I like a good horror story, but a specific kind of horror story, but I still like it. And it'll be interesting to write a murder mystery kind of thing. It'll be interesting to write a romance, but the most interesting thing about writing the romance story, stop doing that. The most interesting thing about writing the romance story right here will be the challenge of trying to get a romance that is positive and projecting a positive ideal of romance out into the world. And the comedy will that'll be pure fun. I'll get to try my hand at Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Terry Pratchett's Discworld series. Love them. They have vaguely the same sense of comedic writing, so that's what I want to have a go at and try and make that happen. So I'm going to love jumping around at all these different books. And here's the thing, the question in the chat might be referring to how am I bogged down with this story? No, I'm writing the 5th book in the Half Human series, which is coming out later this year by Spaceboy Books, if we get it all finished on time. If I get it finished on time, that's an interesting. I'll talk about that book another time because that's actually a method you could use to promote your book or get help. I'll come back to the Half Human was a very different writing project, so that's another book series. I got to write the sequel to The Demon Machine. And I'm also trying to get a completely different book series published. I don't think that what I'm doing is typical of writers full-time. I just have time to keep writing all these different things. And I can get them out onto the page and get them sent off without really it being an issue for me. And I'm really going to like when I actually get out of this step and get into the writing. So thank you for those comments, for those questions. It's so difficult because I'm running out of time. You have all these different ideas in your head. I would say that the thing that probably stops me from just writing them at any one time is thinking, is this going to go anywhere? are people reading this? Is this going to be published? Then I remember something I said in the first video, you've got to write your books for you first. I'm going to enjoy this book when it's done. I'm going to make sure I enjoy it when it's done. And I enjoy Stolen Futures. I still read it. The Demon Machine. My first ever book, Return to the Earth, which never really went anywhere. I still love it. And I still write parts of it, even though I don't think it will ever be published. Mostly because I'm never really going to submit it again. I like my own writing. Not in a sort of, it's brilliant kind of way. At the very least, I wrote my books for me, and I love them. So I think if you're having trouble writing whatever story's in your head right now, it actually is kind of helpful to go and write something else that you're more psyched about, and to keep bouncing around and try and get your... If you're having trouble with a book that you know you should be writing, the more important book, it's probably a good idea just to keep asking yourself questions about it, and that will get your mind thinking about answers. And those answers will be plot points, just like the what if method I described in the very first video for this series. Okay, I've gone over my hour. Oh well, I'm gonna stop there with the pirate adventure. Next week, comedy. It's gonna be so much fun. What's fun is writing stuff that I find funny. You might not find it funny. Hopefully you will. But it's just, I love that kind of, to write something that's almost like the Discworld, or like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, or a bit like the humour in Skullduggery Pleasant. It's going to be so much fun, and I love doing that one. I have to think about it first before we get on the live stream. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for the questions in the chat. I hope that's been helpful. Again, put more things in the comments if you have more questions. Thanks to all of you for watching. Please tell other writers you know about this. Hopefully it'll be helpful for them too. And it's a pirate's life for me now. Oh, hang on a minute. I just realised I wrote something here right here. I won't get to do that. Oh, well. See, I didn't look at this properly, so now that's gone. And that's fine. I don't want to have to try and work that into the story. It's gone, and that's fine. That happens in writing. You have a great idea, you think it's a great idea, but then you have a completely different one, and that happens. I need to stop, otherwise I'll just keep going, and I don't... Till the next live stream, thank you so much for watching this one, the 14th in this series, Book from Scratch. Watch me write a book from scratch, as well as plan it, and then stress about it, then try and get it published, and then stress about it being published. Either way, thank you so much. Have a good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are in the world.